how's it going? It's me, Betty Jean. In today's video, I am doing my monthly reading wrap up. Get ready with me. I'm gonna chat about all 13 books that I read in the month of May, as well as do my makeup, creating this look you see here. I'll be using the new Cleona Deep Sea Treasures palette for this look. It's so super cute and shifty and wonderful. I do plan on playing with this one some more, so just stay tuned. I'm enjoying it so far. We're gonna get into it. I have a lot to say, so I don't want to babble too much in this intro. As far as my accessories today go, these earrings are from Spooky Doodle Club on Etsy, and I don't know where this choker's from. So yeah, without further ado, let's just hop in and chat about the books I've been reading. Hello and good morning, my friends. It is the last day of the month. I just finished my last book that I'll be able to finish this month because I'm definitely not going to be able to finish a book today. So I figured I would film my May reading wrap up, and I have some books to talk about. Like I mentioned in the intro, I read 13 books in the month of May. I honestly didn't expect to read that many just because I was on vacation for almost 2 weeks. But during that vacation, I managed to read 8 books. Well, more like 7.5. I finished half of it when I returned. But I read almost 8 books, and that was mostly just because pretty much every single time there was like downtime or we were commuting, or there was ever a time where like maybe I would just mindlessly be scrolling on my phone, I read instead. And I'm actually really happy that I ended up doing that because I just felt even more refreshed and even more of an escape from the real world, and it was really wonderful. And because of that, I have 13 books now to share with you. As always, I'm gonna try to keep this as spoiler free as possible, just give you the overall vibe of the book without like spoiling things, kind of my overall thoughts and roughly what I rated it. I'm gonna be doing my makeup as I chat about everything. If I forget to mention something, it'll all be listed in the description box as usual. As of right now, I have already primed and done my brows. I like to do my primer before my brows so it can have time to sink into the skin. Still on my Freck Rich Bitch kick. And without further ado, we're gonna start talking about some makeup while I slather my Say Super Glowy Gel, whatever this is called, in Star Glow, just for a little extra glowy moment. The first book I read in the month of May was Mirror Lake. This is the 3rd book of the Shady Hollow series. I've talked about the Shady Hollow series a few times over the last few months. I love the Shady Hollow series. It is so cute. They are just the most cozy, cute, comfy, like murder mystery books. If a murder mystery can be cute and cozy, that's exactly what Shady Hollow is. The books take place in the town of Shady Hollow, and all of the characters are little animals, as you would assume by the cover. I think of it as like Fantastic Mr. Fox kind of vibes, where like they're animals and like cute little critters, but they do everyday things like have jobs and go to the coffee shop and stuff like that. All of the books take place through Vera Vixen's perspective. She is a fox and an investigative reporter. In the last 2 books, we're tackling different like situations that were happening in the town, and in this 3rd book we are attacking another situation. In this one, problems arise when Dorothy, who is a rat, I believe she's a rat if I'm remembering correctly, basically she's accusing her husband of being dead, and the rat that is supposedly her husband is not her husband. She thinks he's an imposter. Everyone thinks she's crazy, but Vera thinks there has to be something more to it, so she's trying to investigate and basically just figure out the root of the problem and what's going on with this mystery. It was super cute. I love these books. They're so short, like such easy reads. Like I think they're all like close to 250, 200 pages. There's a 4th one coming out towards the end of the year, and I'm so looking forward to reading it. They're just adorable. They're not like groundbreaking. Like I don't think I could give these like crazy high ratings, you know what I mean? Just because they're pretty easy, they're kind of cheesy, but they're cute and they're so comfy to read. I love them. As a whole, I would rate this probably like a 3.5 stars. I feel like that's overall what I rate the Shady Hollow books in general, because they're really cute. I enjoy reading them, but they're not like so groundbreaking that I feel like I can rate them much higher, you know what I mean? But it's always fun kind of reading the story and letting it unfold. I like trying to guess what I think is gonna happen and what like the truth is and stuff like that. So they're pretty fun. I liked this one in particular because you venture into some other settings as well, slightly outside of Shady Hollow. So that was pretty cute too. It's just to kind of get some more scenery going on in the story. Next up, 2nd book I read was Things We Hide from the Light by Lucy Score. This is the sequel to her first book in this series, The Things We Never Get Over. It's like the same kind of cover, but it's blue instead. I love this series. I love it so much. The third one's coming out later this year, I believe. I've already pre-ordered it. I'm so looking forward to it. These stories take place in the town of Knockemout, and I just love that town so much. I've raved about these books so much. I think they're just so cute. I feel like Lucy Score does such a good job really getting me engrossed in the town and the characters, not only the main characters, but the side characters as well. The first book I talked about last month, it takes place through Naomi's perspective and her love interest, Knox. It was very much a Grumpy meets Sunshine kind of vibe, and I just fell in love with it, and I immediately wanted to read the sequel, which was this one. And this one takes place through Knox's brother Nash's perspective and his love interest, Lena. Very much a slow burn love kind of vibe. There's some drama going on. You're trying to kind of piece together what happened to Nash in the first book. I don't want to like spoil the first book, but like a situation happens to Nash in the first book and you're trying to further like delve into that more. And then Lena, you're kind of also trying to figure out what she's in town for and what purpose she has to this story and stuff like that. It was so good. It was my first 5-star read of the month, which I wasn't surprised because I loved the first book as well so much. I love Lucy Score's writing. I love this particular story, just with these characters and stuff. Oh, I love it so much. I would love to see at least the first book turned into a movie. I just think that they're such fun, quirky characters, and I'm in love. I love them so much, and I'm so excited for the third book because it'll take place through Lucian, who is friends with Nash and Knox from the first book, so it'll be through his perspective, and I just cannot wait. It's gonna be so good. I'm gonna give this Pixie bronzer stick another go. I used this in a Get Ready With Me recently, and it's so subtle, like so unbelievably subtle, but I'm gonna try again, see how I feel about it today. I'm gonna just draw it directly on my face this time because when I go just on the sponge, it does not do enough for me. But yeah, overall, love that book. I love Lucy Score. I love the town of Knockemout, so looking forward to the third one. The third book I read in the month of May is Last Chance Books by Kelsey Rodkey. This one is kind of a cutesy, I would say probably more in the YA category. It doesn't get very spicy at all. This one gets quite spicy. This one's a little more on the YA side. It takes place through Madeline Moore's perspective. Her family owns Books and More, kind of a play on their last name. And a rival bookstore opens up across the street. It's kind of like a franchise chain sort of thing that opens across the street. So basically, Madeline is going to college soon, and this is her last summer before college, and she's trying to do everything she can to save the bookstore because it hasn't been doing too well. And she kind of forms this rivalry with the son of the owner of the bookstore across the street. His name's Jasper. His store is Prologue, which I think is actually a really cute name for a bookstore, even though that's the enemy. I thought that was super cute. Side note, I feel like this bronzer does have a little more impact when I just like heavily draw it on my face first, but I still feel like it's just super subtle. But I do like the glow it leaves behind, so maybe I'm not mad at it. But there's not really much more I can say other than that. It's just kind of a rival bookstore, enemies to lovers kind of situation. It was cute, it was kind of cheesy, and it wasn't like the most revolutionary thing I've ever read, but it was cute. I enjoyed going through the story, but overall I gave it like probably a pretty solid 3 stars, maybe 3.25. It's just cute, you know, just a cutesy little YA book, which I have nothing against YA. I would even argue that the Shady Hollow books are a little more on the YA side just because they're so kind of simple, you know? It's nothing like too adult as far as the content goes, but I don't know, overall it was fine. It wasn't the most memorable book for me. The next one though, oh my gosh, I love it so much. I talked about it in my monthly favorites. The Dead Romantics by Ashley Poston. Oh my gosh, when I tell you how much I love this book, I wish I could read it again for the first time. I loved going through that story so much. Side note, I do plan on using this like watermelon blush from Lawless today, this really cute pink, but I kind of want to add a little of this Rare Beauty liquid blush in the shade Lucky first, just for a little extra pop of pink. I'm just gonna add a little bit right there. Might have been too much and blend it out. Probably even build that up a little bit more. But The Dead Romantics is so good. It takes place through Florence's perspective. I think she's she's in her 20s, but not like super young 20s, if I'm remembering correctly. She is a ghostwriter for a famous author, and the book's kind of starting out with her just kind of struggling to finish the last book that she has contracted. I grabbed way too much blush just now. it's okay. It's all gonna be okay. Basically, she went through a really bad breakup and she is now kind of anti-love, and she's ghostwriting for this romance author. That's like all she's ever written. So she's struggling. She's having a really hard time. She has to meet her new editor and she's stressed about it because she doesn't know if he knows about her being a ghostwriter, and she's worried about confiding in him about her struggles that she's having. She meets him. He's kind of gruff, kind of hard to talk to about this kind of stuff. Then fast forward a little bit, she gets an unexpected call that her father passed away, so she has to rush home. Her family owns a funeral home in town, so she's trying to help out with that and all the arrangements and things of that nature. She can also see ghosts, so not only is she a ghostwriter, she can also see ghosts. And lo and behold, and this is not a spoiler because it's on the back of the book, her new editor ends up showing up at her family's doorstep as a ghost that only she can see because her family can't see ghosts the way she can. And yeah, she's basically trying to navigate what he needs and also just kind of unraveling stuff with her family, kind of finding out things about herself. And just, it was so good, guys. I loved going through that story, the way everything kind of wrapped up in the end, the way all the things kind of fell together. I got so emotional towards the end of the book. Like my heart was feeling heavy and my eyes had like the hot eyes. It was, oh, it was so good. I loved this story so much. It takes place in autumn, so it's just like the perfect like spooky read. It makes you feel really hopeful. It's just, it was so good. I just absolutely loved reading that book. Gave it a 5-star rating. I was amazed. And honestly, I didn't even realize how much I was loving it until it was over. And I was like, holy cow, I loved that book. And I just wanted to like tell Zane all about it. It was just so cute. I would honestly love to see a movie made out of that as well. And honestly, there's not that many things that I'd want to see made into a movie. I feel like more things I'd prefer to just stay as books. But that one I think would make a really cute movie. I mean, a ghostwriter who's kind of struggling in the world of love, who can talk to ghosts. It's all the things that my heart needed. Next up, number 5 is By a Thread by Lucy Score. As I mentioned, I love Lucy Score's writing and I wanted to read more from her, and I've heard a lot of people talk about By a Thread, so I wanted to read it for myself. This takes place between Dominic and Allie's perspectives, similar to the Things We Never Get Over and Things We Hide from the Light books. It kind of switches chapter to chapter, not necessarily one chapter after another, but it switches every so often between the different perspectives of the characters. And this one is between Dominic and Allie. Very much a kind of grumpy sunshine sort of book, kind of an enemies to lovers sort of book. I loved this. Dominic's mom is like the head of this like really important, famous, big time fashion magazine, and he kind of gets sucked in, so to speak, into working for the company a little bit. He doesn't love it. He's very grumpy about it. He's not the most pleasant person to be around. He's dealing with a lot of the backlash that his father kind of caused for himself. So he's trying to like kind of regain things, and he's just grumpy. Overall, he's just grumpy working at this fashion magazine. The beginning of the book starts with him showing up to meet his mom at this pizza place where Allie happens to work. He is being super rude. Allie's rude back. Basically, because of the fight and Dominic egging Allie on, causes Allie to get fired from her job. She leaves, and then Dominic's mom follows her and offers her a job right on the spot at the fashion magazine, like headquarters, basically. Allie's hesitant. She's like, I don't really know. I don't know if I can work with your son. And she's like, well, just so you know, he's not going to be allowed to fire you. So that I already was in love with, because I love the idea of them being like forced proximity, kind of hating each other and just kind of dealing with it sort of thing. I don't know. I thought it was really funny. I love how pink I am today. So basically overall, the story is just kind of going around through the different ventures of Allie's backstory and kind of what she's dealing with versus Dominic's, and them kind of getting to know each other. And I just really enjoyed it. I thought it was a really fun story to go through. I thought it was really funny. I just love Lucy Score's writing. I don't know what to tell you. I didn't love this one as much as the other 2 books from her. I gave this one like probably a solid 4 stars, I would say, but I still really enjoyed it. I love a grumpy sunshine, enemies to lovers kind of situation. I thought it was really cool. I liked the characters evolving. Overall, it was just a fun time, and I really enjoyed it. I want to read more from Lucy Score. I don't own anything else as of this moment, so let me know what else you've read. I think I want to pick up Rock Bottom Girl. I know that she's been redoing a lot of her book covers and kind of re-releasing them, so it's kind of like bringing new light to some of these books that have been out for a little while. So let me know if you've read anything else from her. I would love to know so I can check it out because she's one of my absolute favorites. Really quick for highlighter, I'm gonna dip into my Deep Sea Treasures palette from Cleona. I just got this, I haven't used it on my face yet. I think I'm gonna do kind of a tealy look on my eyes, so I think I'm gonna use this as my face highlight, which I'll also most likely use as my inner corner. Ooh, I think I have too much. Let's just find out. Ooh, that is pretty. Just kind of a sea foamy, icy situation. That's gorgeous. I feel like sometimes I just need a moment of silence while I apply highlighter. Yes. I feel like my face looks wet right now and I love that for me. Sometimes I'll even dip my sponge like in the whatever I'm using for highlight and kind of reapply. I feel like it sinks into the skin really nicely. Moving on, those are the books that I read before my vacation. So starting now are the books that I read on the plane. My vacation vlog's already up if you are curious about what we were up to, but moving on to the next book. Number 6 was The Love Wager by Lynn Painter. I really like Lynn Painter. I read a couple of her books last month. I read Better Than the Movies, which was a really cute kind of YA romance. And then I also read Mr. Wrong Number, which was a little more adult, still not like overly spicy, but a little more on the adult end. And The Love Wager is through the perspective of the brother of the main character in The Love Wager. So this is through the perspectives of Jack and Hallie. I think it switches perspectives, doesn't it? Or maybe it's only in Hallie. Yeah, it switches perspectives between the two. I remembered correctly. Really quick before I get into it, I'm just gonna spray my face with my Colourpop spray, throw on a lip balm, and then we'll move on to the eyes. So in this story, Hallie is a bartender at a wedding. Jack meets her there. They end up, I don't know, thinking each other's funny. Hallie ends up kind of being the catalyst to him breaking up with his girlfriend that he's about to propose to. And then they end up hooking up. And then afterwards they meet again, I think on like a dating app or something. But they decide that they don't want to like be together, but they do enjoy talking with each other and the banter with each other. They're really funny. And they decide to start a love wager to see who can find love first. They have like this whole bet going on. So what they end up doing is they start going on different dates and then they end up meeting back up after the dates to talk about the dates and how bad they were. Really quick, I'm just gonna take a big fluffy brush and my Sigma bronzer just because it's what's right next to me. And I'm just gonna swirl this on my eye a little bit because I want my eye to be pretty blank and then I wanna do some like graphic liner for my look today. So overall, it's really funny. It's just kind of a, I guess I would say like a friends to lovers / second chance romance because they did hook up in the beginning kind of situation, but I really enjoyed it playing out and kind of figuring out more about the characters themselves and watching them like grow closer together as friends. It was just really, really cute. I enjoyed the story. I really like Lynn Painter's writing. There's some more books I want to read from her. So if you've read her books, let me know what your favorites are. So this is my 3rd one I've read from her. But overall, it was pretty cute. It wasn't like my favorite book that I read. I feel like I'd give it probably like a solid 3.5, 3.75 stars. But I really enjoyed it as well. I thought it was very cute. I mean, honestly, nothing that I read this last month was bad. I really enjoyed everything that I read. But some things I just enjoyed more than others. I'm gonna throw a little of this under my lower lash as well, just for a little definition. I actually finished that whole book on the plane ride, which I mean, we were flying for like 10 hours, so understandable. I did nap a little during that, so I didn't read as many books as I thought I would read on the plane, but I did read that one. And the next one I started was Book Lovers by Emily Henry. I've been wanting to read an Emily Henry book for a while. She is so hyped up in the book world. This is another kind of enemies to lovers sort of situation. It takes place through Nora's perspective. She is basically a, how would I describe her? She's very like, she's not like that cutesy, whimsical kind of girl. She's a little more straightforward, little rude, but not like in a mean way. She's just very straightforward, you know what I mean? She is kind of a cutthroat, I guess is how I would describe her too. She's a literary agent. She helps make book deals for her writers. She ends up meeting up with this book editor, Charlie, who she does not see eye to eye with. They definitely do not agree on most things. Really quick, as I'm talking, I'm gonna kind of attempt to do this graphic liner with this AF94 Eyes Wide Shut black liquid liner. I just want like a little flick and then I want to layer some of these shadows on top of said flick. So wish me luck. I cannot talk and do this at the same time. Let me just do my little swoop really quick and just hope for the best. That could have been worse. That could have been worse. Good enough. I'm layering shadow over it anyway so I can perfect it later. Let me just get the other one out of the way and then we can actually talk some more. I'm gonna kind of clean up a little bit of this with some concealer as I continue talking. But soon after that encounter, Nora's younger sister, Libby, really wants to have kind of an out-of-town, like, girls trip for a couple weeks. They end up going to this small town that one of the books that they really enjoy, that the book editor that she met with did not enjoy. It's one of her writers that she works with. It's one of the towns that one of her books is set in. They decide to go visit that, very much teeny tiny nothing small town vibes, you know? And then, lo and behold, guess who's there? Charlie, the book editor. It's basically a few weeks of their summer spent in this town. You get to know the characters a little bit more and just kind of watch relationships kind of grow and unfold. You're learning a lot about Libby, there's stuff going on with her, and overall I enjoyed it. I will say it took me a little while to get invested in the characters, like probably half the book before I really cared about the characters, to be honest. So for that reason, I gave this one, I mean, I rated it 4 stars on my Goodreads. I'd probably give it like a 3.75 because I did really enjoy the way things like ended and the way things tied up. I enjoyed that once I got into it, but it just took me a little while to get into it. But I did really enjoy it. I can definitely understand why people like Emily Henry. Her writing is really good. I enjoyed it. Next, I'm just gonna take some of my Bella Beauty Bar Shimmer Stay with a teeny tiny little brush from Sigma. This is the EO6. I'm gonna just layer a little of this kind of on my eye. The next book I read was The Summer I Turned Pretty by Jenny Han. This is the same author who wrote To All the Boys I Loved Before, which I did not read that book, but I did watch the movies on Netflix and I thought they were so super cute. I don't see myself reading those books because I don't know. I don't think I could read the book if I've already seen the movie or show. I know some people can, I just don't think that's me. This is very much a YA kind of book. Very young kind of vibes. It takes place through Belly's perspective, which is a nickname for Isabel. But for all intents and purposes, her name is Belly. That's what pretty much everybody calls her in the book all the time. Basically, her family, her brother and her mom, go to this summer beach house every single year that her mom's best friend owns with her 2 sons, Conrad and Jeremiah. Conrad's the older one, Jeremiah's a little bit younger. Conrad is freshly 18, Jeremiah is like, I don't know, probably 17 if I had to guess, and Belly is about to turn 16. This is like the summer of her 16th birthday, and this is very much like a coming of age kind of story. I'm gonna be using Kelp Forest, by the way, to plop over top of that. I wasn't sure exactly what this book was gonna mean when it's called like The Summer I Turned Pretty, but it's basically just the summer she kind of like grows into herself a little bit more, gets past those like awkward young teenage years, and is starting to like grow into herself a little bit more. She's starting to get a little more notice from people. People are starting to think that she's pretty, that kind of thing. This book also does the then and now kind of perspective, so you're seeing a lot of what's happening this summer, like day by day as things go on, but you're also getting flashbacks to previous summers because they've been coming to the summer beach house like their whole lives. She's always had this thing for Conrad, the older brother, so you're getting some kind of background to why she feels the way she feels and kind of the relationship growing between them. Overall, it was pretty cute. It's not the most, I don't know, life-changing plot or anything. Again, very young. But again, I do like a YA book. I think they can be very cute, and this was cute. I felt like the characters could get a little annoying at times, specifically the main character, Belly, honestly, but overall, it was a cute kind of coming of age sort of story. I actually did also end up watching the show on Amazon, and they changed a lot in the show. Like the main premise was there, like they're going to the summer beach house, the characters are all like the same, but the events that happen like stray pretty drastically from the book. I'm sure that I will read the 2nd and 3rd book at some point, but I'm not like dying to right this second. But let me know what you think of the series as a whole if you've read all 3 of them. I'm gonna take that same saltwater pearl that I use as my face highlight, and I'm gonna highlight my inner corner and brow bone. Ooh, that is so bright. The next one I read is Every Summer After by Carly Fortune. I loved this book. I think this was my favorite book I read the whole month. It was so fantastic. It was my first time reading a book from this author. I love her writing style. In that book, I just fell in love with. I bought that book because she came out with a new book that a lot of people were hyping, and for some reason I felt compelled to buy this book from her first, even though they don't go together, like they're totally different stories. I just felt compelled to read that one first, and I'm so glad I did. Easy 5 stars. I love that book. I love the characters. I love the setting. It was just such a fantastic read. I love that saltwater pearl shade. It's so pretty. I think I'm gonna add some little sparkles to this look also. Why not? So this book takes place through Persephone's perspective. I'm gonna call her Percy because that's what they call her in the book. I think when the story starts out, she's roughly 30 years old or so. And she gets a call from someone from her past, Charlie. He basically tells her like, hey, just so you know, my mom died. I think you should come in town for the funeral. And mind you, she hasn't heard from this family in like, I think it was 12 years is the last time she spoke to them. But she's like, absolutely, I absolutely adored her. I will be right there. So then starting from that point, it kind of goes back and forth between then and now, of the now being this weekend that she travels back to this old lake house area, this kind of lake house town where her family used to have a house for the summer growing up. So it's that whole weekend for the now of her going to the funeral and facing old people again. And then starting back like I think 17 years in the past when she's like 13 all the way through when she's 19, kind of all of those summers. When she's 13, her parents rent this summer house on the lake, and next door is Charlie and Sam. Charlie's the older brother. Sam is the younger brother who's Percy's age. I think back then they're both 13, and then Charlie is like probably 15, like 2 years older, maybe 3 years older. Something of that nature. And I just loved the character development. I loved kind of getting to know Sam and Percy's friendship and watching that form and them turning into best friends. And then as they're aging through different levels of teenagehood, you can tell there's an attraction between them. And it's just basically like kind of going through the story between them two. And you find out during the now portion and even on the back of the book that obviously they haven't talked since that last summer 12 years prior. So you're kind of getting to that lead up of what happened and kind of seeing what's happening in the now when she faces Sam again and they reconnect. I loved it. I love Sam so much. He's such a great guy. I fell so in love with the story. Very much like best friends to lovers, second chance romance. Oh, it was just so good and so summery and so feelsy. I loved it. I felt immediately transported every time we switched between the then and the now. I just felt like I was there, and oh, it was so good. I loved this book. Like I said, easy 5 stars. Loved that one. I'm gonna start working on my eye pencils while we move on to the next book. The 10th book I read was The Unhoneymooners by Christina Lauren. I just felt like I had to read this one since we were literally in Hawaii. It takes place in Maui, so it was pretty perfect. This was such a cute book. I loved it. It takes place through the perspective of Olive. The book starts with her at her twin sister's wedding. Growing up, her and her sister kind of fell into these tropes of her sister was always the lucky one. She always won giveaways and like had all these things and was just like a lucky human being. Whereas Olive was a little more unlucky. She kind of seemed to always have bad things happen to her. And boy, did the tables turn at this wedding. The wedding happens and basically catastrophe strikes to where the bride and her new groom can no longer go on their honeymoon. She ends up telling her twin sister Olive to go on the already paid for honeymoon instead. And who ends up joining her but the best man? His name is Ethan, and she does not vibe with Ethan. She has a history with him. She feels like he doesn't like her and she definitely doesn't like him. They do not get along. They get on each other's nerves, but it's a free vacation. They both end up taking it. They're like, we're just gonna deal with it. It's gonna be fine. We'll be in Hawaii. Like, what's the worst that can happen? They end up forming a truce and just trying to have the best time they can. And in doing so, their relationship starts to grow and flourish. And it was so good. It was so funny. I really enjoyed Christina Lauren's writing. I would love to read more from her. I've heard that since I loved Every Summer After, I would probably love in other words. So I need to get my hands on that ASAP. It was just, oh, it was so cute, so funny, very much enemies to lovers kind of situation. Also forced proximity. It was just, oh, chef's kiss, so good. I gave that one, I think I gave it like a solid 4 stars. I would maybe even give it like a 4.5 if I'm being honest with you, because I just really enjoyed it. Next up, number 11 was Beach Read by Emily Henry. I wanted to read another Emily Henry book, and what was perfect for a summer vacation to bring along than Beach Read? I've heard from a lot of people that this is their favorite one from her, so I was really looking forward to reading it. Through the perspective of January, she is a romance author. She ends up going to this home that her dad owned on the lake. He just passed away, so she acquires the home, and she also needs to finish up this book. She has like this deadline coming up for the summer. I use my Milk Makeup Rise waterproof mascara, by the way. She notices she has this next door neighbor who she finds out is August. She actually went to college with him. She didn't vibe with him. She just thought he was kind of rude, a little overly critical of like her writing. He is not a romance author. He writes like darker kind of stories. But basically she meets him, they get to talking, and they form this bet to see who can write a book in the opposite person's genre first. So it's really fun kind of going through their struggles of trying to live in each other's world a little bit more. They're kind of taking each other on different trips to kind of get into that mindset of like either the romance or the dark kind of perspective. I might have called him August. His name's Augustus. Augustus, I really enjoyed him. He definitely has a rough past. January also does as well, and you're kind of learning more about the two of them as separates and kind of getting into their friendship a little bit more. I really enjoyed it. It was kind of a grumpy sunshine, kind of enemies to lovers sort of situation. It was really cute overall. I definitely enjoyed that one more than Book Lovers. I felt like I got into the story a little bit faster with that one. And overall, I'm just excited to read more Emily Henry. I do own People We Meet on Vacation. I'll read that at some point. I have some other priorities coming up soon though that I'll talk to you about. I do want to read that one, and I do want to read her newest one. It's called like Happiest Place or something like that. I might be misremembering the name, but it's in hardcover right now, so I think I will wait until it comes out on softcover before I buy it. But overall, really enjoying the Emily Henry books. Beach Read, I think I would give it a solid 4 stars. I feel like that seems pretty fair for it. I enjoyed it. I thought it was cute. Next up, we're on the last 2 while I do my lips before I apply a second coat of mascara. The Love Hypothesis from Ali Hazelwood. I've had a lot of people tell me to read that book, but I've also heard a lot of mixed things. People seem to either love it or hate it. I still feel like I'm not quite sure how I feel about it, because like as I was reading it, it was quirky, it was funny, but I also found myself feeling annoyed sometimes. Like the main character is kind of annoying, the love interest is kind of unlikable, but then I also kind of love them both for those reasons. It's mixed feelings for sure. This book is between 2 scientists. Olive is a 3rd year PhD candidate. She ends up needing to make her friend think that she's out on a date, but instead she's actually just working late in the lab. And then her friend shows up, so what does Olive do? She just turns around and kisses the first guy that's near her, who ends up being the very grumpy, kind of hard to deal with professor. His name is Adam Carlson. And when she realizes what she did, she's absolutely mortified. She can't believe she acted on impulse like that, but alas, it happened. I love the watermelon smell on this gloss. It's the, what's it called? Juicy Watermelon Gloss from Lawless. It just smells like summery watermelon candy. It's so cute. But basically she meets up with him to apologize, and then they actually end up coming to this agreement that they need to fake date. She needs her friend to believe that she's happily in a relationship, and he needs to have the board think that he's very content in staying put in his job, and he thinks a relationship will look like he's committed to where he's staying at this particular school. So it's just kind of that fake dating trope, which I do love a fake dating trope, but I don't know. The characters, I don't know. Sometimes I loved them, sometimes I found them annoying. I did overall like going through the story and kind of seeing how their relationship grew and getting to know the characters more, especially Adam, because he's very closed off, and I liked getting to know him more. And I liked how the story wrapped up, but I don't know. I had mixed feelings about it. Overall, I liked it. It wasn't my favorite thing in the world. I liked it enough, I suppose, so I feel like 3 stars is fair. And then finally, last but not least, just finished this last night, Meet Me at the Lake by Carly Fortune. This is that new book that I was telling you about that she came out with and then I read Every Summer After first. I am still glad I read Every Summer After first because it made me fall in love with her writing, and I did like that one more than this one, but I did really like this one. I didn't give this one 5 stars, I gave it a solid like 4 stars, but I really, really enjoyed it too. This one does a similar thing where it's kind of jumping between the then and now. It takes place through Fern's perspective. Her family owns the Brookbanks resort that she grew up in, but she never really wanted to stay there or take it over. So she ends up, when she's younger, during the then portion when she's like 22, she's living in Toronto, going to school. She's about to have to go back to move in with her family because her schooling is done. And back in the past, she meets Will. They spend a really nice day together. It's like kind of a life-changing day for her, even though it was only one day, but you're kind of going through that whole day during the then portion. It's kind of broken up bit by bit. And then the now portion is right now at, I don't know how old they are. I think like 32, because I think it's like a 10-year difference, something like that. But her mom just passed away. She ends up having to take over the resort, and she's kind of dealing with that. Who shows up but Will? So you're kind of getting the what's happening then. Why did they not see each other again for 10 years? What's going on with them now? I really enjoyed it. Kind of another like second chance romance kind of vibe. I wasn't as attached to them as I was the characters in Every Summer After, but I did still really enjoy it. I absolutely love the cover of this. I think it's so pretty. I'm loving these like summer lake house vibes. I just think it's such a fun thing to read about. And overall, I really enjoyed it as well. I liked the story unfolding. You really don't learn a lot about Will until like much later in the book, because it's very much a secretive, sullen kind of character, if that makes sense. And I really liked getting to know him more and more bit by bit, and just learning more of what's happening with the lake house and the resort and stuff like that. You're also getting tidbits of diary entries from her mom back when she was in her early 20s, and learning a little bit more about her as well. Overall, it was really good. I liked unraveling the story, and I had a good time reading it. And that concludes all 13 books. I need to just get myself finished and put together. I need to fix my hair a little bit, get out the bumps that occurred when I slept on it, and I will be back. Thank you so much for watching my video. I really hope you enjoyed it. I hope you like my look. I hope you liked my book chats. I would love to hear your thoughts on these books. Have you read any of them? Do you want to read any of them? What have you been reading lately? I'm so excited to get into a new reading month. I bought the 6th and final Crave book yesterday. It's called Cherish, and I'm so excited to start it. I'm gonna start it probably this evening, and I cannot wait. And then after that, I'm finally delving into the world of ACOTAR, and I cannot wait. I own the first one already, and as I'm reading that one, if I'm falling in love with it, I will absolutely buy the rest of the series, and I have a strong feeling I'm gonna love it. It seems like something I'm gonna enjoy. But I would love to know what you've been reading lately. Please leave it down below. If you made it to the end of this video, leave some book emojis, and if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. It helps my channel out a lot. And if you're not already, you can follow me on my other socials. You can join the battybean fam. I am battybean on everything: Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter. And if you want, you can subscribe. If you want to see more of my videos, I'm posting most days here as well. And feel free to join my channel memberships. The link to sign up will be down below. You'll get a cute little bat badge next to your name. You'll get exclusive little spooky emojis, and you will get a members only Get Ready With Me once a month. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one. Okay, bye. I definitely have a cat hair on myself. I'm gonna lose it. I'm gonna lose it. I can feel it. I got it. I'm gonna lose my mind. I have like 5 more things to say, and then I can end this video, but Weed Whacker Man will not stop.